All right, so I kind of like to start my videos with I mean, in general, I just do my videos loosey goosey. I don't really kind of plan my videos or kind of uh, talk about what I want to plan or talk about what I want to do in those videos, I guess. I kind of want to just be free form and spit my thoughts on things. But anyways, today we're going to be talking about why I actually don't use Vim. Now, when I say I don't use Vim, I mean I don't use a Vim editor, right? I use Vim Motions, absolutely, and I think everybody should, because there's a lot of productivity gains on there. But why don't I use Vim? Well, the easy answer is, well, the configuration, right? Configuration takes a very long time. Now, that's you need supporting kind of like, I guess, not evidence in this case, but you need supporting um, in terms of like supporting maybe like facts or whatever to kind of back that up, because inherently Vim can be as simple as you possibly want it to be. And when you keep it that simple, then you there's really isn't much configuration. But that's the thing is most people want they kind of expect from an IDE or even an editor, right? Like VS Code, they expect some niceties to come off of that, like out the box. And so there is some configuration you can go through. And most people argument is, oh, you know what, you configure it once and you leave it. But that's just absolutely such a lie and not true. You actually have to constantly be configuring things and updating things, or else things just randomly break, right? You download a new LSP and all of a sudden it just doesn't work, right? It's just broken and you need to upgrade to a new version, which causes a cascade of effects, right? And so it's just not true to say, hey, it's, minimal, you just configure it once and let it go. And really, you might not think configuration is a big deal, but it takes up a lot of times and you're going to just lose so many countless hours configuring Vim to just get it to work with what you're doing. And you'll notice that maybe you spent 3, 4, maybe even 5 hours today just trying to get it to work before you even solve the problem that you're looking to solve. Now, um, that's again, that's Vim as the editor, and that's what I say when I say I don't use Vim. It's that, right? But I do use Vim Motions, right? And I suggest strongly for everybody to use Vim Motions. Now, Vim Motions, if I go to this here, Vim Motions are kind of the, if you would say, um, what makes Vim Vim, I guess, right? It's like, you can right, you can Command J, I'm sorry, Shift J to like bring things into new line. Like you can do a lot of things, right? This is not a Vim Motions tutorial. I'm not also not an expert. If you want, I'll link down a GitHub repository. I don't know who made it. I don't think it was a Primogen, but I think the Primogen was the one that showed me. It's called Vim Tutor. You can go through it. There's a lot of different commands that you can do to just speed up your workflow and get around your file or your code base in general just way quicker, right? And so I strongly suggest using Vim Motions. As a matter of fact, I strongly suggest that you do not use Vim at all, and you just keep using your editor of choice, and however you need to install Vim in there, go ahead and install it, either enabling it or by downloading an extension. And so, let me get back to the browser here. And so, yes, um, I don't use Vim as the editor for those specific reasons because, like I said, you might say that you configure it once, but it's just not entirely true. You configure it once and you're just constantly configuring over and over to try to get it to work. There really isn't well, I'm sorry, there is one more reason that I had that on here on why you shouldn't use Vim, and that's because in this day and age, we're kind of getting close, like further and further away from actually programming and then using, instead we're using, like things like, AI or whatever to kind of write code. And not to say that there isn't like a Copilot autocomplete for Vim. There is definitely that, but the landscape is kind of changing, right? And you're seeing more and more tools like maybe Claude Code, Cursor with agents, right? Or VS Code also with agents, right? And so you're seeing more and more very heavy integration with more of a GUI, right? And so I really think that Vim won't be at that level. It's definitely nothing like Emacs, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I definitely think I'm sorry, Vim is much better than Emacs, but Emacs has like things that you could do. I know it's like it's a whole fucking thing. And so what I'm trying to say is I don't think like a text editor like that, just like a text editor in the terminal, will get to that stage. Now you can use Claude, excuse me, you can use Claude code for those for those using Vim on the daily. But again, it's going more and more towards the GUI kind of thing. And so I strongly suggest just not using that as your daily driver. As a matter of fact, I have a friend, as an example, to give you guys an example. He's primarily a React person, right? And he wanted to get a little bit into Vue, just kind of touch another framework. And I told him to get into it, right? And his main text editor was Vim, and so he went and got into, downloaded the LSP for Vue, try to get it set up. He gets back to me about 8 hours later and says he hasn't wrote a single line of code because he has not been able to get his configuration to work for Vim. That day he quit Vim. And it's as simple as that. It just happens. And so there's so there's so many situations where you simply want to get started in something or do something, it breaks, and then you're spending countless hours configuring it. So that's just a primary example of of what type of hell you're kind of getting yourself into when you're like primarily using Vim. And so I strongly suggest just use Vim Motions. Now, is there a place for Vim? Yes, I think there's absolutely a place for Vim. And I primarily use it for quick text editing, right? And so, say I'm in a code base, I'm working around, and I'm on my terminal, and I quickly need to go somewhere. I don't know, maybe my ZSHRC, right? So I'm going to go to my ZSHRC, but I don't really want to open this in VS Code, open a new VS Code pane. It's just like I can quickly get to ZSHRC and then just open it up in on Neovim. And so I actually have a very minimalist setup for Neovim with Mason that has some LSPs, and I'll drop my dot files in the my dot files repo in the comments. I'm sorry, not in the comments, but in the descriptions, so you can check it out. But anyways, it's a very minimalist setup, and all it does is essentially gives me some LSPs for some languages, right? It gives me fuzzy finder, right? And that's it. That's it. I don't have anything else remotely like added to this configuration. So it's as simple as I can get with just getting some LSP right in there. I think I also have tree sitter, but that's about it. And so, um, doing that, it's just quick editing, right? I don't need to open up another VS Code or Cursor or whatever you're using, right? Whatever editor you're using, I don't need to open it up and try to get into my ZSHRC, right? I can just quickly navigate it to my terminal, open it up with Neovim, and then just call it a day. And so I strongly suggest, doing that for Neovim. If you want to use Neovim, just use it for quick editing, right? Make a simple config and then use that as your, you know, quote unquote quick editing editor, right? But everything else should be done on your terminal. I think that's 100%. Anyways, that's my thoughts on why I don't use Vim. Let me know if you guys use Vim on the daily, what your guys' thought is down in the comments. Yeah, like.